We welcome in 58th District House Representative candidate Andy Welden. Andy, great to meet you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's good to have you here. How's the farm going?
Farm is good. It's a little dry. We'd like some rain, but it looks good.
Can I hear about your operation?
The farm?
Yeah.
It's primarily commodity crops, soybeans and corn. And actually, I have handed over the management of the farm to the next generation, and they are farming about 3,000 acres, which is 3 times as much as I did at the time that I started the handover. And
do you let the guys run the show, or do you give a little fatherly advice once in a while?
They're running the show.
Okay.
We've been doing this for about the past 8 years, so it's hard to let go of something you put your life into, but I'm very confident in their management ability, and it's common that farms don't get passed over. They get split up and so on. That's how our farm has grown, because for some reason farmers are an independent group and they have a hard time letting go, and that quite often fathers and sons end up not getting along, and farms get broken up.
How dry is it out there? I know my dad is a beef farmer, and he doesn't have irrigation. And he didn't get a second cut to speak of. He's a little concerned about the hay right now.
Okay.
How bad is it out there right now for the county?
I wouldn't say that we're in severe drought, but we're beyond the beginning of drought. I know I've traveled quite a bit in Branch County, and they had that storm which caused a lot of tree damage and so on, but they did get a couple inches of rain out of that, and the crops look better over there. They're less stressed. As far as in our own operation, we irrigate about 700 acres, and the irrigated crops look super. We've certainly had the heat degree units and if you have the water, why the two together make a super crop. But the unirrigated is certainly stressed.
I learned something about Andy a few minutes ago when I offered him a cup of coffee. You don't drink coffee.
I do not.
You look perfectly energized. How do you do it?
We don't raise coffee in Michigan. Hardly any in the United States. You can make coffee from soybeans, by the way.
Really?
If you cook them down and basically scorch them, and it makes a drink that is similar to coffee.
So what I found out, you've had about 2 cups in your life. I drink probably about a pot of coffee a day. So I admire you.
Well, you look all right.
Thank you, but you don't need it. That's pretty good. So you got into this a little bit later than the other candidates.
Yes.
Why did you ultimately decide to jump into this race?
Actually, 6 years ago, I wanted to be in this race, and I had at that time I was serving as a county commissioner, but before that I had actually not put my name in the to run for county commissioner, and wasn't going to prepare and get ready to run the last time that the term limits were up, and the electorate actually put me back into the county commission by a vote-in or a write-in, and I said, well, I guess that's where I belong, and so I let it go that time. And this time, when I looked at the slate of officers, candidates, there wasn't anyone from the with an ag background, and I thought that there should be, since agriculture is the number one business in our district. I thought, why not?
Yep. Is the fact that you jumped in late, I don't know, it wasn't too late. I mean, you got in plenty of time, but a lot of these guys...
Well, it was the last day.
It was the last day?
I filed on the last
Why did you wait so long?
I thought that there would be somebody from ag that would do it.
Gotcha.
Prior, not this year, but before, Farm Bureau had encouraged me to do so, and I assumed they were working with somebody. But apparently they were not.
So do you think that the guys who have been doing this longer, I mean, does that I guess one of the questions from your candidacy, for instance, the debate.
Sure.
So those three were going at it. I mean, it was pretty contentious.
I'm quiet.
You stayed out of it.
Right.
But I'm reading the stuff online about it, and some people say, I like Andy. You know, he's a straight shooter. He's not trying to overwhelm the debate with a lot of words. And there are other people who said, does this guy really want this? Does he have the fire in his belly for this race? How would you respond to that in terms of your debate and maybe the fact that you got in a little bit late?
I would respond to that as far as the work, I really look forward to the committee meetings and the logic and the conversations between 8 to 10 or however many serve on a committee in Lansing. The deep discussion and how can we really make this work. Mm-hmm. That's I enjoy that part. Mm-hmm. That's why the commissioners that are doing the radio ads for me that I've worked with before, they know that most of the work isn't done in front of the microphone, in front of the TV or the radio interview, and that the debate is a tidbit smidget of an item, and are you for it or against it? Yep. And there's so much more to it than that.
Did you want to have?
You can be for and against something, both. And
did you want to have a debate? Like, I mean, did you even want to participate in it?
Did I want to?
Right.
Certainly, yeah. You have to.
Okay.
Do I enjoy that? No.
Okay, that's fair.
I'd rather talk with all the. There isn't a bad candidate, and they have their pluses.
Did you think it got a little, I mean, obviously you weren't part of it, but did you think it got a little carried away at times in terms of the back and forth and it got a little bit contentious?
Sure, and that's politics.
Okay.
I guess and the crowd likes a dog and pony show.
They did seem to like it.
They did.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We're talking to Andy Welden, who's running for the 58th district seat. Now, you mentioned that you served on the county commission first.
Yes.
How long were you on that?
16 years.
16 years. Wow. You kind of maybe already answered this question, but I wanted to get to this specifically. How did that 16-year term on the county commissioners board, how did that help prepare you maybe to be a good representative?
I would say the budget process for sure. That the county, in all those 16 years, we always zero budgeted. We didn't spend beyond our means. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. That doesn't mean we didn't at times use reserve funds. Fortunately, prior commissioners and continue to do so do have a contingency fund. We're not operating on a zero balance checkbook, and that's important. Mm-hmm.
So the budgeting aspect is something that you take away from that is something you feel comfortable with?
Yes, it is.
Sure.
I know the numbers will be bigger in Lansing, as far as, and obviously with the shutdown, you know what we're looking at to face budgeting-wise, income-wise for the state of Michigan.
There have been a couple of issues that have bubbled to the surface in the last 5-6 weeks, and a big one has been, how is your campaign financed, right? That was a big part of the debate, and we don't need to go into the specifics, but one of the questions has been outside money or this dark money. And do you have any dark money flowing into your campaign, and what do you think about that whole discussion?
What do I think about it? Well, I guess some say that money is the root of all evil. I do not, as far as dark money, I do not have. I don't know that any candidate does.
Okay.
I'll say that Andrew Fink started his campaign 2 years before I did. Mm-hmm. And I did receive a call from Ken Kurtz he basically said that he said we've had a great relationship when he was the state rep and I was a county commissioner. And he said I didn't know you were going to run. So,
but he had already endorsed, right?
Endorsed Andrew before that, and that's fine.
So how are you paying for this, Andy? I mean, if you're not receiving money from outside, how do you fund a campaign like this?
I've had local people contribute money, and and from savings of my own.
Yeah.
And selling some toys. Are you interested in a car?
I like your truck. I did mention that. Also, you have a coon dog now. You don't have that for sale, right?
He is not.
He's not for sale. Okay, just making sure. My dad might be listening, so I want to check in with that. What are a couple of issues that Andy Welden, you get this, let's say you get elected by the people and you're going to represent us. Mm-hmm. What are a couple of the issues that you feel the most passionately about or the strongest about as you go to Lansing?
Representing the people from the district. I like to listen. I want to be available. I don't want to just be a figurehead. I know that we need to accomplish some things. To say what those things are, the people will tell me what they are. And I know roads are part of it. I do have a good relationship with the road commission board and so on. And I will ask other people. There's a lot of people in our district that have a higher IQ than I do. I don't mean that I'm, but they have more knowledge about a particular issue, and I'm not ashamed to go talk to them and learn and take in information that what's needed.
I appreciate that. You are super plugged in Hillsdale County. What about the Branch County part of this? I mean, that's a big part of this discussion.
The past 50 days, I've spent quite a little time in Branch County, and there's insignificant difference between the community of Brunson and the community of Jonesville. Yeah. People are people, and I don't mean they're have exactly the same issues or so on, but if you just listen.
You can represent everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Governor Whitmer has taken a lot of incoming. I think she's taken some very personal jabs and a lot of heavy criticism.
Sure.
And then you see the polls. I just saw another poll yesterday, and it said somewhere around 65% of Michigan residents approve of how she's handled the coronavirus. Now, some might say that that's not an accurate poll, and then you get into the weeds a little bit.
Oh, sure.
But what do you think? I mean, honestly, how has she handled this? It's been difficult for any governor to negotiate. Are you upset with the way that the governor has handled this coronavirus situation?
If you look at the state as a whole, we are a 50-50 state as far as Republican and Democrat. Our district is not, and I have a track record of always voting Republican. Mm-hmm. I don't have the fear of the corona flu that some do. I did lose a friend at the medical care facility from it. I know it's real. He had other health issues, and I think it was Darren Wisely that said, why would you sacrifice the children to protect the old? That I don't really disagree with that philosophy. Mm-hmm. I think the lockdown probably in more populated, more dense areas has more purpose. I don't think we need it in our district. You and I are sitting here without masks.
Oh, you told on me, Andy.
And I'm very comfortable with that. Me too. I actually think that we're going to have this flu. It isn't something that's going to be gone just because we go through a winter. It'll probably be worse next year. And the sooner I get it, the better my immune system will be to handle it, is the way I look at it.
So we just have to try to move on, right?
Correct.
If we can. Yeah.
We've had viruses for centuries, and we'll continue to have new ones. It's not a new phenomenon. If it wasn't election year, I don't think you would have seen any lockdown.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this conversation with Andy Welden, who's a candidate for the 58th district. This vote is coming up, and I want to wrap this up with a couple of final questions. I'm going to ask you the exact same question I asked Darren. You've been at this now for a while, this campaigning process. Mm-hmm. Two-part question. The campaign. What do you like about it the most? What do you dislike about it the most?
I'll answer them in the opposite direction.
That's fine.
If you might.
No,
dislike, it's just that campaigning is campaigning.
Yeah.
I can sell you some Michigan soybeans and tell you why they're the best soybeans in the world.
Right.
To sell myself is not an easy thing for me to do. I don't like to talk about myself. I've never been one to share my story, and in any campaign, telling you whoever tells the best story usually is a popular person, and I'm not a storyteller. I'm a realist and would rather talk about anything than myself.
That's fair. What do you like? What do you like about it?
What I like about it is it does. It's good for me to do something I don't enjoy doing.
Pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Pushes me out of my comfort zone, and it makes me realize what is the right place and spot for me.
So let's fast forward to next Tuesday. We have an election, right?
Correct.
People actually get to vote.
Right.
What are your plans for election night?
My plans for election night.
You have a huge ballroom rented out.
I do not. My plans will probably. I normally don't go to bed before the polls close.
Right.
So
that's fair.
I probably won't go to bed before 10.
We're breaking news. Andy Welden will stay awake for the poll results.
That's after the fact, so I probably will sleep.
The hay's already in the barn, right?
Yep. I'll probably find out in the morning.
Andy, it's been nice to meet you. I just maybe met you for just a second another time, but I really appreciate the conversation, and we certainly wish you all the very best.
Thank you kindly.